Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh. Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. I appreciate you stopping by for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. I hope your week is going well. If not, you've made it to the halfway point, so it's all downhill from here. Appreciate you joining us no matter how or where you're finding us on one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref. Always the right call in Evansville and in the region on the voice of the region, 1230 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked where you got it right now. That's all you need to do. And stay there and you'll get great sports all day long. If you found us on social media, appreciate you. Hit the subscribe, like buttons. As a matter of fact, we would greatly appreciate that as well. But hope everyone's having a good week. Was out at French Lick yesterday. If you listener, you knew that. But out for the Corn Ferry Tour Media Day that they had, as French Lick has the Corn Ferry Tour Championship there last year, this year, and 3 more years after that. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you. Yeah, I love going to places and doing things like that, especially when it involves anything to do with the state of Indiana. I mean, the Corn Ferry Tour it's the championship. That's a pretty big deal. And it really is, because that's the step where these guys are coming from. Scotty Scheffler was in this, was on the Corn Ferry Tour in 2019. Just think about that. He's the greatest golfer in the world. And there's no doubt about that. He won his 6th event over the weekend, a BMW Classic, I think. But that dude he's dominating the game, man. He's doing it. But and on top of that, as if you were listening yesterday, you heard that they're going to 25 current tour players are going to lose their tour cards. And so that means there's going to be more talent on the Corn Ferry Tour. So looking forward to that coming up in October. So if you're around, probably you wouldn't be, you're a golf fan, that would be a great place to go catch that action. But appreciate Brendan Sweeney and everyone at Dave Harner, the director of golf as well, and everyone at French Lick. It was just, as always, first class in environment. And I will tell you, we played golf yesterday as well on the die course, and it was hot. You're up on that hill. There was no wind. I mean, 0 wind. And it was tough there toward the end. It's still working. That's right. There you go, Mike Shenanigans. I love it. Yeah, and let me tell you, it started to feel like work. It was, it was warm out there. Speaking of warm, college football closer and closer to becoming a reality as the season is set to begin for the Hoosiers on August 30th, as they'll take on Old Dominion on that Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon. They're in the final week of their fall camp, really. Next week, they go into game mode and start game prep and all of that. And make sure you go to the Hoosier.com on 3 and get yourself a subscription to that to keep up with everything going on, including the national pieces. And they're not always, Indiana's not always free to escape some tough words. Brett McMurphy, who is now with On 3, says Kurt Cignetti can call Indiana's non-conference schedule SEC style, but it's really garbage. I'm so sick and tired, and it's I really hate to try to get into venture into this argument because it pushes me towards sounding like a homer, and that's the last thing in the world I want. But why is Indiana's schedule being ridiculed? How many teams do this exact same thing? Most. Any conference, it would. Kurt Cignetti probably takes the I don't care attitude because he knows all they have to do is perform on the field. This is where, and when you hear them talk about shutting out outside noise, this is exactly what they're talking about. But the thing that I hate to see is this further plants seeds in minds of people. And it's like, whoa. Why don't you just start comparing? Compare some other schedules, other teams that are virtually identical to doing that. So, and I'll try to get Brett McMurphy on. I'd love to have that discussion. So, since he's with On 3, I'm going to reach out to him. I need to write that down. Brett McMurphy. So, yeah, I would love to get him on, but he's a long-time, very well-known writer, sports writer, now with the On 3. So, looking that. All-Americans were announced. Indiana trio preseason AP, second-team All-Americans, as not surprised, but Elijah Surratt, wide receiver, finally got the honor that he probably already deserved. Linebacker Aiden Fisher and quarterback D'Angelo Pons were named to the AP second team. One notable admission, and I was really surprised by this, defensive lineman Mikael Kamara. He was an All-American last year. How are you not a preseason All-American? So, last season, Indiana finished with 3 All-Americans, of course, those 3. But Kamara was the only Hoosier on the postseason AP. Well, I don't know what that reads. But anyway, I was just surprised by that because he was a monster. And I'm wondering, okay, why do they think he got worse? Do they think his talent has subsided? I guess the only thing I can come up with is, but why you would do this is beyond me. But I guess punishing him maybe for the losses Indiana had on the defensive line, which were substantial, with C.J. West and Linnell Carr Jr. and Mike Carpenter. So they lost some guys. There's no doubt about that. But no one knows how good this line is going to be this year. No one knew how good it was going to be last year. I don't understand that. Brian asked, when did Purdue last have one of those? Yeah, who cares? Yeah, I don't get into that. Blah, well, they're way behind, so they'll look as long as they catch up. Brian says, Grandpa Archie said he was going to come out after this season. Then Arch said he didn't know where Grandpa got that. I don't know what the hell that's about. Got some craziness going on already. How's everybody doing? Appreciate you for being with us. As we're getting closer and closer to football camp, or the opener, and looking forward to it. And the weather. How about the weather? Man, everybody, we were talking about how hot it was yesterday, and it was unbearably hot. But then I kept laughing. I said, well, don't worry. Tomorrow it's going to be like 85 or something. Didn't help any of us. But cooler temps coming, baby. So I'm sure the football players of all sorts appreciate that immensely, as these hot days have they're going to come to an end, at least for at least a week, as the 80s are coming in. And then you've got the storm, Aaron, that I think is not going to really do much. So Bill asked, could the IU Purdue score be greater than 66-0 this year? I don't think so. I think that they have a coach that knows what he's doing as a head coach. They've got a brand new team as well. I don't think that they're going to be good, but I think that they're going to be better than they were last year. Obviously, Ryan Walters did not have the experience he needed to be a head coach yet. Now he's back to being a defensive coordinator. He was previously a defensive coordinator at Illinois, and before he got that job. And now he's back being a DC. He is at Washington, by the way, and Indiana not playing them this year, but replaces Steve Belichick, who is now with Bill Belichick at North Carolina. So we shall see. It's quiet on the basketball front, as it will be, as they are months away. You normally don't get an August type of deal that we had with Indiana men's basketball going to Puerto Rico and getting that kind of coverage. And just think about it, we had the open practice, so we were fortunate to get that kind of coverage then. But now there's just a gap, and but that's okay. You just you got a little taste, and now you got to wait. So, but you'll have football to take all of that off your mind, and not have to worry about what's waiting for basketball. But and how about that? Just think we're not waiting for people are not waiting for basketball. They're waiting for football to start. And that has been that's just a breath of fresh air. Now, I've said this before. Indiana is not just going to become fan-wise. They're not going to just become IU football fanatics overnight, and one season is overnight. It'll be interesting to see how substantial the fandom stays. And part of that is because Indiana fans don't know how to be football fans. So we'll talk about all that and more. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal and Gazette will join us next. We'll take a short pause for the cause, and we shall return. Glad to have you along for the ride. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle right after this message.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday, and that means a visit from our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. How are you, sir? Good. Good to see you as always. We're getting closer to the start of football season. Basketball, quiet. It's going to be very quiet for a while. You look like you got some sun.
Oh, a little bit. Thank you very much. I played golf the other day. So, yeah, I was out there.
Oh, how did it go?
Not terribly. I played okay. So, try to get a couple of rounds in before the end of the summer. So, I didn't put some sunscreen on. So I probably should have done that. That was my bad.
Soak in the vitamin D, baby. Soak in the vitamin D. No. We're closer and closer to the start of football season. And I haven't read the article yet, but there is a Brett McMurphy is now with On3, and he has a piece out that Cignetti can call his schedule SEC style, but it's really garbage, which my question is, I'm like, what the hell is it? Indiana is one of a billion teams that have this same exact schedule, basically. Why is Indiana being pointed out? I don't get it. Is it because of the volume, or I think because of Coach Cignetti's bold and brashness? That's probably a big possibility. Also, Indiana crashed the party. They crashed a good old boy club. Hey, man, this is a private club. You got to be a member to come in here. You guys aren't members. You suck. Oh, I'm sorry. We went 11-1. Oh, but you didn't beat anybody. Well, they played the two teams that played in the national championship game a year ago. They played the two teams that played for the national championship last season. I mean, what is it? People are just relentless. It's like you have nothing else to go on. And I'm not wanting to be an IU homer, but I'm just saying I don't want to sound like a homer, Dylan, but I just don't get the constant barrage of criticism on Indiana's schedule when they are just like most other freaking college football programs.
Yeah, the idea that it's so IU this year, I looked it up. IU has the 30th most difficult schedule in the country this year. The idea that needs to be the subject of like every single national pundit talking about how IU doesn't schedule anybody is just kind of ridiculous to me. They're 30th. Like that's if you go 10-2 or 11-1, you're in the playoff. I don't really understand why everyone has suddenly decided. I think it's because they're an interloper. Everyone is like, well, they could take our spot, and so they're a little bit worried about that.
Dylan's having a little bit of problem with his connection there. We'll try to get him back in there better.
Get very upset. And so it's one of those that I repeat.
Dylan having some problems with his connection there, so we'll try to get him to reconnect as we talk about that. But yeah, it's the same thing. I just think that they've crashed the good old boys club, and for whatever reason, it seems like if it was any other program, nobody would care. But I think it's because, and I'm not blaming him. I don't have a problem with anything he does. I think Curt Cignetti's brashness pisses people off. His boldness just angers the hell out of them. And I don't care. I think it's funny. Someone I was talking to a while back said, "Oh yeah, he's real cocky." I go, "No, I don't find it cockiness. I find it great confidence." You just stop and think. He's never had a losing season ever, wherever he's been. I mean, with different levels, but never. That's pretty good. Not everybody can say that, but Indiana needs. I've said this many times already prior to any of this stuff coming out. Indiana needs they need a signature win this year. I really believe that. You can't go over. You need to beat somebody. And I'm not cracking on their schedule. They beat all the teams that were in front of them last year, save for the eventual national champion. Dylan Sinn rejoins us. I was just talking that with all that chatter, Indiana needs to beat somebody this year. They do, and I believe that because you got to get that boom. You do that, and you can finally, fly the double birds at people you want, which is what Curt Cignetti would do in his way, which would be through words, and he wouldn't mince words. And I have no problem. It's his brashness and boldness. I think it just pisses people off. But I don't have. I laugh. I think it's funny, but it's not cockiness. It's complete confidence in his success.
Yeah, I think that the thing with IU is they're going to have to win a couple games against good teams this year if they want to have the season that they want to have, right? Like last year they could get by because they didn't actually play anyone. Like Michigan and Washington were down, and so they won those games, and that was great. But they didn't have to beat anyone who was an elite team in order to make the playoff, right? Like they deserved to make the playoff last year. They were 11-1, and they beat down everybody on their schedule, but they didn't have to beat Ohio State in order to make the playoff. This year, I think you're going to have to beat one of Oregon, Penn State, Illinois at least, and maybe two of them in order to make the playoff. And so if you want to have the kind of season that they want, you're going to have to go out there and beat somebody. And so I do think that that's a change this year. And I think that Curt Cignetti and his team know that. And in terms of Cignetti, I don't know. He came in here last year and he talked about how they were going to win right. He didn't even say we're going to win right away. He said that he has won right away everywhere he's been. He knows how to win, and he's done it before. And they went out there.
I win. Google me.
Right. I just
still the greatest.
Yeah,
has to be the greatest opening press conference line in the history of sports. I mean, seriously, think about that. Some dude coming into a program that has not only sucked, but was the officially worst program in the history of Division I football with the most wins ever at that time. And to say what he said, it sounded crazy. But then you go out and you follow it up. But I agree. And I've said this. Heath asked, would Illinois or Iowa be a signature win? Illinois would be a win that would shut some people up because they're perceived as a top 10 team by most people and a better a team to have a better shot in making the CFP, I think, than say Indiana, because that's from everything I've seen. Everybody had Illinois above them. I think Indiana wins that game. Now we're a ways off. We're 5 weeks from that game, but then Iowa is also, to me, yes, winning at Iowa. I hate to use the word signature win, because unless they're ranked at the time, which is very possible because that's the 5th week of the season. And Iowa they always have a decent team. Now they've added a quarterback that can throw the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see where are they after 4 weeks. So if Indiana can get that win over Illinois, which I think they will at home, then they have to travel out to Iowa City. And that's a tough place to play. I don't care what kind of offense Iowa has. It's just a tough place to play. And that is a solid win. But if they start the season 5-0, I think they're locked into the CFP, because I don't see them losing to anyone else possibly other than, say, for Oregon and at Penn State.
Yeah. And to be clear, I do think Iowa's offense is going to be better this year. They got the quarterback from South Dakota State, who I think is going to be pretty good. Now, losing Caleb Johnson obviously is a huge deal for them, but their offensive line is going to be very good again. So I do think they're going to be better. This is not going to be a typical Iowa offense where it's like, well, we score 7 points, that's as much as we can do. So we'll see. I do think that Indiana is going to have their chance to go out there and prove it on the field this year, which I know that there are people in the college football commentary who don't like that. They don't like talking about what happens on the field, because they would rather just say, well, the SEC is the best and go from there. Because theoretically the SEC is undefeated. But Indiana is always, yeah. But yeah, Indiana will play enough good teams this year that we'll know their quality by the end of the season. I think it was difficult last year because they played two of the best teams in the country, like maybe the two best teams in the country, and then no one else in the top 25. That's a very rare schedule. You're not going to have that very often.
It was a fluke. Michigan was part of that fluke, not being, coming off of a national championship, albeit a very, very, very tainted and tarnished one. And K-Bro pointing out that Kinnick Stadium was the beginning of the end for Tom Allen. And I was thinking about that. I was at that game. That's when everybody was jacked up. 2021, you got Michael Penix back from losing him. Boy, and buddy, K-Bro was there as well as myself, but you could see, this is not going well. Instantly. So, but it's going to be, I can't wait for that game. Part of the reason is because it's a great environment. Man, you want to talk about football fans? Iowa's got them. Nebraska, they got them. They love football. They love it. And, if you've been to that, it's great stadium for those people that travel to like one away game a year, Dylan, this is one of those. If you have not been to Iowa, you're not a football fan. I don't mean that for real, but if you're traveling to games and you haven't been to Iowa, you're missing it. It's not that far. It's like a 6-hour drive from Indianapolis. And on top of that, it's football, man. Those people love it, but they're not, it's not this rivalry fan thing. They're welcoming as a fan base. Now, once you get into the game, it's all that's off, but great place. And I'm telling you, it's where, great place to go see a game. And then you've got the Children's Hospital. I mean, I can still remember the goosebumps on my arms when that happened. And we were there, even though I was in the press box where it's like a tomb most of the time. It was pretty cool to see that in person. And I know you got to see that as well.
Yeah, it's just a really wonderful thing that they do there. And yeah, it is one of those things. It's kind of like Wisconsin for basketball, where IU playing at Iowa, they have not won in years, right? They've just gone there every single time. It just hasn't gone well, kind of like playing at Wisconsin, where it's just no matter how good the team is, they haven't won there. And so going and winning there, I don't know if it would register on a national scale, like, oh, is the Indiana's legit because they beat Iowa on the road, because that depends on how good Iowa is. But for Indiana people, the people who follow this program, that would be a legitimate win and something for Chris Signetti to really hang his hat on. So I just think that there are going to be opportunities for them to show how good they are this year, and it's going to be really fun to watch because I do think they're a pretty good team. And we'll find out pretty soon, early in the season, when they play Illinois and Iowa back to back.
Oh, absolutely. Then Oregon. But
Oregon, yeah.
But those two teams, yes, like I said, if Indiana can go 5-0, I think that they've you've got a lot of games left. Let's don't get ahead of ourselves. But you get through that part undefeated, you've set yourself up for a return to the college football playoffs. Although with the constant rhetoric, I wonder how much of this seeps in to the selection committee, because one of the things that was talked about was strength of schedule is going to play a bigger part this year of that. And Indiana's, right now they have
30th
three ranked teams on their schedule.
Yeah,
and
their overall strength of
the
schedule
Illinois game is
third.
going to be really important.
Yeah, and I do think the Illinois game is a must-win in terms of what if they want to make the playoff.
Oh. Well, if you don't beat Illinois, then you're going to have to go to Oregon or Penn State and win, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it should be pointed out that last year the committee got it right. Like we talked about, well, the committee's listening to all this stuff. The committee got it right last year. I did not have really any problem with the rankings last year. I think you could argue that IU should have been ranked ahead of Tennessee. I don't think it really would have made much of a difference. But other than that, the committee really got it right. They had the correct teams in the field. They didn't listen to the SEC people on ESPN. They didn't listen to Greg Sankey talking about how good everyone from their league is. And they should get 5 teams or 6 teams, whatever it was. So we should probably give them the benefit of the doubt, at least because they did that. So basically, you go out there and win as many games as you can, and then we'll leave it to Signetti to do his politicking. But it is one of those things where you're going to have your opportunities, and I do think that I just think that if you go out there and you beat Illinois and you beat Iowa, you really put yourself in a good position. One thing I will say, I think that because you talked about Illinois and being a top 10 team and all that, and you've heard a lot this offseason about who's this year's Indiana, right? And Illinois is, a lot of people have called Illinois this year's Indiana.
But see, that's not true, because they were 10-2 last year.
Yes, like that is my thing. There will not be an Indiana this year. Even Indiana will not be Indiana this year because Indiana was 3-9 in 2023. Like that's what made Indiana's season last year so special. It was a historically down program, which had had a terrible season the year before, and came in and went 11-1 and had the number 1 point differential in the regular season in the country, or number 2 maybe. It was a historically great season for a program.
Led the country in so many, or not necessarily led, but were in the top 2 of so many big time categories.
Yes.
They were number 1 in rushing yards allowed in the country. That's a defense, people. Speaking of which, the All-Americans were announced preseason, which nowadays, preseason anything is puff of smoke. Let that go. And so there's no reason to get jacked about it other than it just puts thoughts in it puts guys ahead of others, I think. Mikel Kamara left off after an All-American season. He's coming back. Did he get worse? Did his talent slip? Did he lose a leg? Why is he not a preseason All-American? He was a beast, an absolute beast. He gets left off there. Now, Elijah Surratt added, probably deserved it last year. I was a little surprised. But anyway, Indiana still with the 3. But Kamara being left off there
very, very surprising. My only thought is the losses Indiana had off of the line, that maybe people are thinking, well, that's going to affect his play this year, which I don't know. I doubt that, but we'll see. But curious as to why you would leave a returner that had the season he had off.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that he's gonna maybe it's part of it that he is moving positions slightly. Like I don't know how many people are aware of that outside of IU. But if they are, maybe it's one of those things where he's playing a little bit of a different position. He's gonna have different responsibilities, that kind of thing. I think he's gonna have a great season. Mikael Kamara is one of the better defensive players in the Big Ten. I think he's motivated because he didn't play as well as he would have liked against Ohio State and Notre Dame last year. And I think he is really going to have a great season. So excited to see him with that chip on his shoulder that he didn't get on the All-American team when some of his teammates did. I think that can only fuel him. So we'll have to ask him about that when we next have availability with him, because I'm interested in whether he cares about that at all. I would bet you that he cares about it at least a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And make no doubt about it, Kurt Cignetti wants these guys to get that recognition, because obviously it brings recognition to your program, but there are very, very few programs that have 3 All-Americans already, and Indiana really with a 4th on there. But that's great for recruiting. That shows player development. These are JMU guys. You want to talk about the ultimate in development? They were developed under Cignetti at JMU and Indiana, and recruits see that, and the coaches can point that out. Say, dude, we took these guys. They were 0 stars when we got them. When they left, they were superstars. Now they're playing on Sunday, and that's another thing I think that is going to. Indiana had that, going along with not having good teams was not having NFL players. Indiana at least used to put players in the NFL, and that had really slowed under Tom Allen. Michael Penix, of course, is having a great run, but he ended up leaving. I think that's going to change. You're going to see a lot more guys. Aiden Fisher, I have no doubts he's going to get drafted. D'Angelo Pons, he's getting drafted. Now his size is probably going to hurt him in the NFL, but he has overcome that. If you can do that consistently at the high college level, then I think you can make that adjustment, because he has the intangibles to overcome that stuff, and you have to do that. But getting players in the NFL is huge for a program.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, as you said, it gives you something to sell to recruits and say, hey, we put players in the NFL. They all want to go to the NFL. And if you can say we put players there, then they're going to be more willing to come to your program and get developed and stick around. I think that's part of it too, is that it's not just, we're going to come there and then the first time we have a good season, we're going to transfer up to a better program. No, they're going to stick around because they see what you can do with development, right? And so I do think that that's a huge part of it. And D'Angelo Pons could be one of the first cornerbacks off the board if he has another season like he did last year. Obviously, his size is something of a concern for NFL teams. But if he has another season like he did last year, where he was the best cornerback on the field almost every game they played in, he's going to be one of the first corners off the board next year. And it's going to be really exciting for him, a guy who took a chance on Cignetti, kept coming from JMU, who probably had other offers because he was fantastic as a true freshman. Had other offers this last offseason after being an All-American at IU, and could have left and gone somewhere else and didn't. That would be great for him to go out there and be an early round draft pick.
Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me, Jim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got lots more coming up. Appreciate you being with us. We're back after this quick break.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Glad to have some cooler temperatures coming, D-Man. I mean, yesterday was I was playing in an golf event down in French Lick, and it was warm up on the hill, brother. There was no wind, and hee-haw. But we've got some cool winds rolling in. And I promise you, the football players are appreciating that more than anybody as they're heading into their final days of preparation before they get into game week next week. But I cannot wait for the season to start. Earlier, I was talking about Indiana fans. It's going to take a while for Indiana football fans to become football fans. Indiana is a basketball school, and an 11-2 record and college football playoff appearance is remarkable, but it doesn't change the fact that Indiana is a basketball school. And while they're enjoying football, I don't think they know how to be football fans yet. Some do, but success, they're not used to success from football program, and seeing it in a second year in a row, now that's going to start. I mean, last year generated a ton of interest. Can't deny that. But then you start doing regularity, then you start to create that culture within the fans. And that's of great importance because that Indiana's behind in that regard, but you can quickly catch up. I say it all the time, winning cures everything.
Yeah, and that's what Chris Neddenriep was talking about last year. Is like, hey, come out and watch us play. We're pretty darn good. You know, you're not going to be disappointed if you come out to the stadium and see us play. And so I think that is it. I'm interested to see how it goes at the beginning of the season because you have 3 games at the beginning of the season that people think that Indiana should win. I think everyone thinks they should win. And so the question is how many fans show up to those games because they were 11-2 last year. It's a new team. Does the enthusiasm of last season carry over, right? And because they did a lot of things last year, the athletic department did a really good job of trying to generate enthusiasm. They did the thing with the towels where everyone got a couple towels, and it really became something that you were able to do as a fan base together. And they just did a really good job of generating enthusiasm for the program. Now you had the season that you had, and you're trying to really take that next step. And so they invested in Signetti. They invested in his staff. They spent a significant amount of money, almost certainly, to invest in the roster to bring back some of those guys who definitely had offers from other places, as Signetti has said as much. So the question is then, does the fan support carry over, right? Like that first week, is it going to be, are there going to be vast swaths of empty seats when they play Old Dominion? I probably not as many as there would have been in the past, but probably some, right? And so the question is, does it take a while for that enthusiasm to carry over? Because that is the mark of a program that has really arrived, is the anticipation for the season collectively is where it needs to be all the time. And IU, I don't think is quite there yet. There's still a lot of tickets available for that Old Dominion game. There are obviously huge IU football fans. Many of them are listening to this show, and many of them have probably been fans for years. But it's when the fan base collectively, when you get those sellout crowds in week 1 against a team that no one really cares about, that's when a football program is a rock. I'm not sure IU's quite there yet. Might take a couple more years of high level success, but That is the goal. That is where IU is trying to get to. They spent the money for years and years. The refrain was, well, if you spend the money, we'll show up. They spent the money, they did the thing. Now it's time for the fan base to show up if they really want to be a high level football program.
I agree with that 1,000%. Everything you said there, Dylan. And that's that's what I was kind of referencing earlier when I said it's still a basketball school, and we're going to have to wait and see when that carries over. But yeah, you can't be fair weather friends and fair weather by not just winning, but who they're playing. Oh, well, they're not playing this. They're playing so-and-so this week. So it's not worth going. That's not what the bigger programs are built on. Their team is playing this week, period. End of story. The opponent, I'm not saying that the opponent doesn't matter a lot of times. Sure, you're going to see just a little bit, but for the most part, no, because we're talking 100,000 seat stadiums that may have 90,000 people in it. That's a big ass crowd. So yeah, I agree. And with it being the losingest program, previously the losingest program, I don't think they are now. It's just going to take a while. They're not used to being football fans. Although a lot of people have been a long time. There's a lot of people that listen that have been fans for a long time. They've just been waiting for this, but it's just the success of the basketball program, save for the last 25 years, had just already established what that was. So, yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what the crowd is like for Old Dominion, because it is the first game. It's what you've been waiting to see this team again. New team now. How many people really come out?
I mean, that's the thing is I'm fascinated by the Old Dominion game. I think first of all, Old Dominion is not a terrible team. They are probably going to finish somewhere in the middle of the pack in the Sun Belt this year, which is a good conference. And so I do think that there's some talent on that team, and it's not going to be like when they played Western Illinois last year. This is not going to be 77-3, I don't believe. I think there's going to be some moments where it's like, hey, that could be better. We're going to find out pretty quickly where these strengths and weaknesses of this team are. And I'm fascinated by that. I think that for all the work they did this offseason, it seems like on paper the roster is as good or better than it was last year because they filled all the holes that they wanted to fill. You still want to see it on the field, right? Like last year they beat FIU 31-7 in that opener, and you could see holes, right? You could see like, okay, there's things that need to be cleaned up. Curtis Rourke wasn't great in that game. I remember thinking last year, oh, okay, they got Curtis Rourke in the portal. That's not the most important part of the team. He's going to be kind of a passenger this year because the defense is so good and the offense is going to be based on the run game. I was totally wrong, but it was one of those things where he didn't play that great in the first game. So you see things in the first game that you wonder whether that's going to carry over through the season, and not everything is perfect that first week. So I'm interested to see that first game, how they come out after an offseason of everyone talking about how good they were last year. Were they successfully able to continue to elevate the program? I'm fascinated by that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And just the idea of getting to see an Indiana football team with high expectations is also really fun, right? Like this is high level football, right? You are a team that is ranked in the preseason. You were in the college football playoff last year. That's what football season is for high level teams, is the anticipation of a new year. Everyone's excited to get out there because it's football's back, right? Like IU did not go 3-9 last year. You're not having to kind of work yourself into, well, maybe they'll get to a bowl game this year. That's high level football means that when the season gets there, you are ecstatic that football's back. And so if IU wants to be a football program, that's the kind of the mentality that you got to have.
Absolutely. And before you joined us, I pointed out that Brett McMurphy, who's now with On3, has a piece out right now that says Curt Cignetti calls Indiana's non-conference schedule SEC style, but it's really garbage. And boy, the article would really piss off some Indiana fans, I think. It starts out by saying Indiana coach Curt Cignetti calls his non-conference scheduling strategy as adopting an SEC scheduling philosophy. I call it garbage. First of all, what percentage of teams that play 9 conference games, by the way, no less, play 3 non-conference softies? I mean, that's generally been
what most programs have done. They're money makers. They don't have to return most of those games, and they're home games. But he said that Indiana's non-conference schedule through 2029 has been finalized. FBS or FBschedules.com reported during the next 5 years, Indiana's non-conference slate is, and he says, hold your nose, Austin Peay, Ball State, Colorado State, who was a decent program, Eastern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Howard, the Bison playing the Bison. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Indiana State twice, Kennesaw State twice, Miami of Ohio, Old Dominion, UMass, and Western Kentucky twice. Apparently, Bishop Sycamore High School wasn't available. So he says 15 home games, 15 snoozers. I feel sorry for the poor souls in Indiana's marketing department trying to sell tickets to these beauties. And then he went on to say some other things, but I'm interested to get Brett on the show because I can't understand why it's Curt Cignetti and his boldness and his brashness that people, boy, it kind of aggravates people, I think. But the one thing they can't say is he's wrong.
Yeah. I was looking at this yesterday. I did a whole thread on X on this. The last 4 years, that he's exactly right. That's exactly how SEC teams schedule. Basically, what happens is SEC teams have 8 conference games, right? So they schedule one good non-conference game, right? Like one decent non-conference game, maybe. Like last year, I took Tennessee as an example because they were right next to IU in the rankings last year. Tennessee played NC State in the non-conference last year. Well, you say that's great, right? They played a good team. They're not afraid to schedule a good team. Their other 3 games in the non-conference last year were exactly the same level as those teams that Brett is describing there, right? They played Kent State, who was the worst team in FBS last year, and they beat them 71-0, right? They played an FCS team. And the third team that they played is escaping me, but it wasn't very good. Let's put it that way. And so basically, what the SEC does is they schedule one game, or at least in the here's the difference. The last 4 years, basically, that's what the SEC has done from 21 to 24. That was the strategy. Was basically for most of these top teams, except for Georgia, which to their credit scheduled some pretty good non-conference games when they had more talent than everyone else in the country. You schedule one non-conference game if you get to 9 Power 5 games, and then you schedule 3 cupcake games. That's exactly what the SEC has done. That's exactly what Indiana has done. Now, the SEC, they're doing it again this year. But the SEC, starting in 2026, a lot of their teams are scheduling more difficult games in the non-conference to get to 10 Power 4 games for a lot of teams in the SEC. And I think what happened is they got embarrassed. They got tired of people talking about that. And so they said, all right, we're going to schedule tougher teams. And I think that is in anticipation of the playoff going to 16 teams, when your resume and who you've beaten is probably going to matter more than who you've lost to. I think that is a change. I think Indiana, if it becomes clear that Indiana's non-conference strength of schedule is hurting it and keeps it out of the playoff for a year, for example, I think you'll see a change. I don't think Curt Cignetti is saying, well, we're afraid to play these teams. I think he's saying that as of right now, with the 12-team playoff, which we don't know if it's expanding next year, they can't get their ducks in a row with the playoff committee, so we don't know if it's expanding. I think he's saying that is the best way to make the playoff. That is the best way to give yourself the best opportunity. If that changes, I bet you would see IU buy its way out of some of these games and schedule better teams. I think you would. I don't. This is not a matter of we're afraid to play teams in the non-con. This is cursing that he's saying this is the way to put yourself in the best position to make the playoff, which is what Indiana's goal is. And so I think that the SEC is kind of starting to move away from that, starting in 2026, not this year, but starting in 2026, the SEC is moving away from that. They're scheduling better teams in the non-conference slate because in anticipation of it going to 16 teams. Now, if Indiana starts to feel like, well, that's the way we need to go, I'm almost certain they will go that way. They'll buy out some of those games and schedule better teams. But for right now, with the playoff at 12, it's about who you've lost to, not who you've beaten, for the most part, right? It's about avoiding a third loss. What we saw last year is you're probably not at 3 losses, even for an SEC team. That's going to be a tough road to get into the playoff. And so you want to avoid losses as much as you can, kind of like when it was a 4-team playoff and you wanted to, no 2-loss team ever made the 4-team playoff. it's going to be a while until a 3-loss team makes the 12-team playoff, right? But if it goes to 16, then things change. I just think that he is exactly right. Like he had it dead on. If you look at the schedules, this is an SEC schedule from 2021 to 2024. This is exactly what the SEC did, and so he is dead on with that. And you can complain about it all you want, but he was exactly right. Now it could change, and the SEC is changing their tune. I think they got slightly embarrassed, maybe because of Indiana a little bit, although some of those games were scheduled previously. But they've changed a little bit, but not until next year. And so this year, if you look at Indiana's strength of schedule and you look at some of these SEC teams, it's pretty similar. Now, a lot of these SEC teams have a more difficult strength of schedule in conference, but that's how we're talking about here, right? Indiana got a decent draw in conference this year, not an easy one like they did last year. Like for example, I use Tennessee as an example. Tennessee's strength of schedule this year is 21st in the country. IU's is 30th. The idea that gap means that we need a bunch of think pieces about IU strength of schedule is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I'm looking at Louisville, who plays out of the ACC, and in conference they're going to play number 4 Clemson, number 16 SMU, and number 10 Miami. That's pretty strong, but that's not stronger than Indiana. Here, their non-conference slate, of which they get 4 games: Kentucky. Yeah, they're out of the SEC, but they suck. They're not good, and they're not going to be good. They play Eastern Kentucky. They play Bowling Green and James Madison. Now, James Madison might be the toughest of those. I've got to take a break, Dylan. I don't know if you'll be around. I need to jump in the next segment. I've got to get to Kyle Neddenriep, but if you're going to be around, I'd love to get you back on to continue this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have to go this morning, Jim, but I do appreciate you having me on. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, always make sure you give Dylan a follow at the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Appreciate you as always. We'll continue this conversation right up to the season, brother.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on as always.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Hey, we've got more coming up. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joins us next, right after this short break from Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along, and now joined by the great Kyle Neddenriep, the man that has all of the coverage for high school football and basketball in the state of Indiana from the Indy Star. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you, Jim?
Doing good, doing well. And I know that your beat is definitely not the Colts, but man, Woo! How about the shockwaves that came out yesterday with the announcement of Daniel Jones getting the starting nod over Anthony Richardson? And I guarantee you there was no one that was expecting that.
No, I think the conservative view would have been to start Richardson, see what happens, and then you go to Jones maybe. But yeah, to start with Jones, it seems like kind of a shock to me anyway, or it seemed like to a lot of people because, that's sort of saying basically that he's not our guy. And, if you do that immediately, I don't know if you can turn to him now and, how that's going to go exactly. I mean, it seems like you're pretty much saying like it's not going to work. And we have a lot of coverage on our site about it, and I haven't read everything yet, but I've read a lot of it, and it's just there's a lot of questions I think about the future of the Colts right now. And if you go, what if Daniel Jones leads you to success this year? Then what? Do you because I think Richardson's probably short for this franchise if that happens, and if he doesn't have success, then what? Richardson gets a chance, and probably a lot of the trust is fractured anyway at this point. So it's weird, and the fact that he just hasn't played a lot in the preseason either. It's kind of like, well, why not play him more and just see what happens? I don't know. I mean, that's I guess you don't want to get people injured, but if you really don't trust him that much, maybe give him more of a chance to prove himself in the preseason. But yeah, it's a weird. It's weird, and I guess if you're Steichen, you just think like, hey, we need to win. I think Jones gives us the best chance, so let's go that route. But yeah, it was definitely a big story yesterday, and will be going into the season for sure.
Robert Griffin III, you remember him, sent out I still call it Twitter, X tweet that said, "I'm convinced the Indianapolis Colts are trying to tank for Arch Manning." There's a unique twist.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Steichen and Ballard, though, I mean,
Ballard won't be here. It won't matter.
Yeah, you don't have a chance.
That's one thing I was going to say is, buddy, you want to talk about putting your job on the line? Ballard was already treading on thin ice, I think, because of the lack of success under his watch. But this decision just basically comes out and said, bam, I'm staking my job on this.
Yeah, you don't get that many chances to start over from scratch. So I don't think that's accurate. I mean, you kind of knew what you had with these guys going into, so it's like you could say they're tanking by what they've got. I mean, but not, I don't think that's, it's, and I'm not saying, I don't think they're going to be terrible. I do think they've got some good pieces to the puzzle, actually. Yeah, I think they could be a mediocre team at least.
Well, that's a resounding stamp of approval. I think they could be mediocre. That's what I used to say, Kyle. I'm this close to being mediocre, baby.
Right. I don't think they're as bad as like a 3 or 4 win team. And who knows? Things can go south in a hurry, and we've seen that happen. But I was thinking this could be like an 8-9, 9-8. If things break here or there, maybe you get a couple more wins there. That's kind of what was my expectation, but I don't know. I mean, it's just at this point, it's just, yeah. And I agree with that comment there. It might be easier to tank, or just see what you have, not necessarily tank, but just like give them a full run to see what would happen. That was kind of my thought. And then I don't know why you start from this position necessarily, but yeah, I don't, I don't disagree.
Yeah, there's no going backwards. I mean,
no,
this is the second year in a row that Richardson's been benched. Now, the first time was deserved because of unprofessionalism, to be lack of for better words. But now it's like, okay, you just got beat out by nobody. And I don't mean disrespect Daniel Jones, but let's be, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, maybe there's truth to that. I mean, there is very possibly truth to the fact that can you imagine the buzz that would come around if Indianapolis was able to draft the nephew of Peyton Manning and have another Manning calling the signals there. But there's no guarantees that he's going to be great because his last name is Manning. We haven't even seen him have a great college season yet.
No, I was going to say, yeah, let's see what happens this season first, and then that conversation can happen if it works out that way, way down the road. But yeah, I don't know if that's. I don't know. It feels like this. I thought Richardson. I watched him a lot that year at Florida. For some reason, I watched a lot of Florida games. He never struck me as like this is a guy that can't miss. I mean, he's just not that accurate. He's got great physical tools. He's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him play just because you don't know. I mean, he's bound to throw a 80-yard bomb, or he can run. There's fun stuff to him that I thought was going to be fun to watch, at least even if they weren't great, which kind of what I was looking forward to this year. Like, even if they're not great, like, let's see what he can do. But I guess maybe that is past already, unfortunately. So we'll see. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a good vibe, going into the year. It's kind of the anti-Pacers, the good vibes that we had all June and May and all that is like, it doesn't feel like that right now for the Colts.
I didn't want to turn this into a coach segment, so I apologize, but I always appreciate your perspective on all things sports in the state of Indiana. But one of the things you've got going is your Lost Gems series is continuing. I see that another piece came out today, it looks like.
Yeah, that was number 10. So that's the end of our, at least for this round. We've talked about doing more of these, but we'd had 10 of them in the bag. We did actually this one we were at last. Shoot, it's almost been a year ago. We started our project actually going to Freetown. We ended it with running it, but Freetown's a little town down, southern Indiana, kind of close to Brownstown. Brownstown is the school that they ended up going into eventually, but kind of a neat story. I was down there many years ago, and I did the book years ago, and a couple of the guys I talked to played against addicts. Addicts would come down there and play in these games in the late 40s, early 50s, really late 40s, before addicts was addicts. People didn't really know what was to come the next decade with addicts and all the success that they had in basketball. But addicts didn't have, schools wouldn't play them around here. The city teams wouldn't play them, for the most part. So they would go to these small towns and play. And Ray Crow had a coach that he knew from Freetown from college that there was a connection there. Crow was on staff at that point. And so they ended up playing games down at Freetown. And the story goes that, and it happened against Valonia. Valonia was one of their rivals too, but there wasn't enough room in the gym, so people went up on ladders and watched the game through the windows in the Freetown gym. And the Freetown gym is still the same, basically the same. It's white now. It used to be blue, but it's basically the same as it was. They had a grant.
Are you talking about on the inside?
On the outside, they would go up these ladders on the outside and look through the windows, and you could kind of get up on the roof up there.
No, I meant the color.
Oh yeah, blue on the outside. Yeah, now it's white on the outside, but yeah, the inside looks the same. They had a grant. They poured a bunch of money into it. Really a cool venue. And just thinking back to what that must have been like in the 40s, and talking to those guys who played in those games too, and a couple of them have since passed away, but was able to track a couple guys down from the 50s, and we talked about it, sat in there, and yeah, it's a fun project. I got a lot of feedback on it. Got a lot of people who put in their 2 cents on where we should go, other gyms we should go to. So yeah, it was fun. It was pretty intensive, a lot of back work to get everything set up, but yeah, it's something I enjoy doing, and kind of a lot of these stories are going away, unfortunately, and I don't know how much longer, some of these gyms will be there or have a part in their communities. But, right now Freetown is a community center there in town, and it's actually built out of an old flour mill close to Freetown. Back in the 30s, they tore down this flour mill and built the gym there in town, and it's still standing there. So it's a neat place. Freetown's definitely off the beaten path. You're not going to probably go there unless you're trying to get to Freetown, but neat little gym there, and hopefully it continues to serve a purpose, for many more years, because it was very nice inside. They've done a lot of work to it and put a lot of money into it, so it still serves a purpose in that little town.
Yeah, and then you've got opening week in high school football this Friday night, right?
Sure do. Yeah, there's a lot of great games. Looking forward to that. I'll be at Warren Central, Center Grove, at Warren. Warren's going to be honoring some of their former championship teams and also unveiling a new locker rooms and facilities there. So that'll be fun. I mean, Brownsburg plays Archbishop Spalding, which is a top 50 matchup in the country. We'll have people out at that too. That'll be a fun game. Spalding is, they're a national powerhouse. So a lot of weapons on that team for sure. But Brownsburg's very good too. There's a lot of Carmel. It plays Fishers. It's sort of the new look Carmel with Kevin Wright coaching there. That'll be an interesting game. A lot of good stuff coming on Friday night. It'll be a good night of football.
Where will you be?
I'll be at Warren Center Grove that night.
That's Warren Central. I still can't get over the defensive line they had last year. There are college teams that would love to have a defensive front like that. That was wild, and that's something that it's going to be a while before that comes around again.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and it's going to be, it's probably going to be different this year. Obviously, JJ Finch comes back, who's going to Alabama, so you still got talent there, but not obviously not to that level of basically having 4 guys, and I count Marcus Bell in there too, who ended up playing at a smaller school, but he was just as good as just not as tall as those, not as big as those guys, but they were all 4 of them just dominant players. And they gave Center Grove a good game last year in the regional. This Warren team is very new, very talented, but we'll see what they have on Friday. Center Grove's they should come into the season really kind of ramped up and ready. They have a young quarterback, a sophomore kid named Oscar Sloan, who's only a sophomore. He hasn't played a lot of varsity, just kind of mop-up duty, but he's a big-time arm and 6'4". He's got a lot of offers already. So fun to see what he looks like in that first game. But Center Grove, I think, I actually picked them to win 6A this year. I think they're going to be loaded. So we'll see. Warren, you think you go into this game kind of knowing you got a lot of new pieces, but you're probably going to see Center Grove down the road in the regional, and that you're hopefully by that point your team will look a lot different than it does Friday. That's kind of the nature of it. You're a different team now. You're a different team in 3 months than you are right now.
Absolutely. And then, of course, outside of the Indianapolis metro area, you've got places like Evansville and Fort Wayne and the region, Southern Indiana. Anybody in the Evansville area making noise this year or expected to
Oh yeah, I mean you're going to have probably the best class I would say is 3A for that area. You've got Evansville Memorial is ranked number 1 in 3A, but also Gibson Southern, which I actually had them number 1. I think they're ranked 3rd, and they have a lot of talent coming back from last year. They're always good.
They pumped out the talent, man.
Yeah, and kind of the interesting thing there is Memorial and Gibson Southern are in the same sectional. And so was Heritage Hills, which they won state last year. Heritage Hills is bumped up now to 4A. So they're out of that sectional, but still, you have number 1 and 3 in the same sectional. And then, Mater Dei, which is ranked number 6, is also in that sectional. So it's just a gauntlet you have to get through. But probably the winner of that, whoever gets out of that, and I picked Gibson Southern, but whoever gets out of that becomes a real contender to win the whole thing. But yeah, that's probably the best. Evansville always seems like good football in that area of the state. Castle's been a team that's been good, and I think will be again. They're right outside the top 10 in Class 5A. 6A is pretty much dominated by the Indianapolis area, and then you've got Crown Point slotted in there about in the middle of the top 10. I think they're number 5 going in. But yeah, I mean Heritage Hills is probably the team. If you're looking at Southern Indiana, they are ranked number 2 in 4A behind Chittard. And I think that is probably a fitting place for them to be, if not number 1. So even though they bump up a class, they're going to be a handful, with all the talent they have coming back. So yeah, Heritage Hills, Gibson Southern, Evansville Memorial did lose a lot, but traditional power, Mater Dei, there's a lot of good football down in that direction. Southridge too.
Looking forward to that. And of course, Fort Wayne always with talent and programs, whether it's Fort Wayne Snyder or whomever it is up there, always some powerhouses coming out of the Fort Wayne area.
Yeah, Snyder's right outside the top 10. I think Homestead's going to be better this year. They open up at HSE plays Carroll. Homestead, I know. Oh, they play Westfield. Westfield's ranked second in 6A. So Homestead, they have a good quarterback. I think they've been around 500 the last couple of years, but yeah, Fort Wayne's always got, especially in the bigger classes and the smaller classes, but always has a lot of football talent. Carroll plays HSE. That'll be an interesting game. HSE has beat them the last couple of years in the opener, but Carroll's been a team that's just very solid. Made the state finals 3 years ago, and then have been tripped up here recently. But yeah, Warsaw, up in that area, they've been good. They made the state finals last year in 5A. They lost a lot though. Probably. I don't know if they'll make it back here again, but they've been a good program for sure. And then Bishop Luers out of in that 3A at that 3A level, they did lose some players. They played in the state finals last year against Heritage Hills and got beat pretty soundly. But if you're talking Fort Wayne, I mean Luers is always has a lot of talent. Obviously, a very good football tradition as well up in that area of the state. And also Adams Central, should mention them too. They were knocking heads with Lutheran for years in 1A, and then they move up to 2A and they win it. So, they're staying in 2A, probably want to. They were able to pull that off last year. I was happy for Michael Mosser, the coach there, who, he was always such a class act. They'd always lose to Lutheran, but then was able to win it last year. So seems like a good guy, and it does a great job coaching that wing T that Adams Central has up there.
Looking forward to it. Make sure you're giving Kyle Neddenriep a follow and being a subscriber to the Indy Star. Keep local papers alive, and nobody gives you the coverage. It doesn't even matter where that the Star and Kyle Neddenriep do on the high school beat. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Jim.
You betcha. Thank you very much, Kyle Neddenriep, with us, and we've got more coming up. Coach joins us on the other side of these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, with you on this fine Wednesday. Coach joins us now. How are you, sir? You're muted, by the way. And just to give you a heads up, make sure that there we go.
I appreciate the help there on this.
Well, I made that mistake yesterday
Wednesday
for like 2 minutes, but
little hump day.
Oh God, you had to say it. You had to do it. You had to go there. But,
yeah, but
just
you
kidding.
aren't you getting ready to hit the links today with the?
That was nope. Back tomorrow. That was yesterday, and then tomorrow
right.
for the Never Lose Hoop. Speaking of which, last day that you could probably jump in there. But man, for those of you around, it doesn't matter where you are. If you could come up and play, it's a great cause, of course, benefiting area kids or families with kids dealing with cancer. The Hulls family, this is the 12th annual Never Lose Hoop golf outing. So if you want to play in that, it's a very, very fun event. Dinner, lunch, all that served. It's just a fun day. And the weather's going to be incredible. So you got that going for you, which is nice. So that'll be fun. And before I forget, at Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from the top brands, all at prices you'll love. And now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. We offer free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup on academy.com orders. Want to save even more every day? Open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get another 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there. There's new Academy Sports in Bloomington, and there's more going up around the state. They're the new thing, man. So jump in there and appreciate those guys. How's everything going for you? First of all, I want to get your take on the Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones drama. You don't want no drama.
Well, if I had to guess, back when they signed Daniel Jones, I kind of figured that at that point they were going to go with a more experienced guy behind the center that gives them a little bit more mobility than what Flacco did. And they're going to want Anthony to continue to learn and mature in his growth as a quarterback. And I think that was the biggest thing. There were just too many signs a year ago that he just wasn't ready mentally, physically, and all the above for game days on Sunday in the NFL. He just doesn't have enough experience. When they drafted him, he only had true 18 starts at Florida. And that in itself was very limiting, in my opinion, to get a great, draft analysis on him. And his accuracy was horrific in college. And there's one thing that
hasn't actually lit it up in the NFL either.
No, and that's the one thing that I've always said coaching quarterbacks. You either have it or you don't when it comes to accuracy. It has nothing to do with the strength of your arm. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has everything to do is, can you put the ball from point A to point B in a catchable radius that equals consistency and accuracy. And that is the things that he never had even in college. He's got a rocket of an arm. He can throw the ball deep. He does have a nice deep ball, but it's just not an NFL caliber arm right now when it comes to the accuracy department. And I do think that had another decisive point in the decision making. So they go with Daniel Jones. He's not going to rock your boat, other than he's a more experienced quarterback, probably more along the lines that Shane likes to work with from a mentality, mental capacity, game day decision making, and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes, because Steichen just didn't name him the starter for game one. He used the wording starting for the entire season. And that's a big difference from just coming out and say he's our starter, because that leaves an open door between game one and game two. This doesn't.
And I also said that, not that Chris Ballard's job wasn't already on the line Well, this definitely, you're just saying, all right, here we go. I'm staking my job to this.
Yeah.
But and the more I think about it, I'm like, doesn't matter. He's out. I think he's out regardless. I don't think that the Irsay family wanted to make that change, instantly upon them taking over, but that's coming. But then again, I wonder, do they care? Because now you've got the talk of tanking for Arch Manning.
Yeah. That's asinine too. About like Brett Murphy's article, asinine. But
I am. We'll talk about that one.
Yeah.
Too, I'm just getting so worn out by it. I'm like,
I know.
Shut
it's
up.
not about let's stay on the Colts. We can always segue into that one because he's noted for that. But I think, in my opinion, that Steichen may be more protected than Ballard, because Ballard has drafted every one of these players and signed them free agents and trades because this is his team wholeheartedly. Steichen kind of came in with the hand that was dealt with him, and then I don't necessarily think Steichen wanted to play AR his first year. And I think that was forced upon him because I think Irsay and Ballard kind of forced that card. It's interesting that I'm a little surprised that Ballard didn't force his card on this one, as much investment that they made into Anthony. And so there must not have been an overall consistent, consensus in the group that AR was the guy. And I think Steichen wanted to play Daniel Jones, and I think it got written off by the, Irsay ladies, and then it didn't really matter what Ballard thought in that regard. So, I mean, those are pure hypothetical opinions, and on my part, I'd have no inner knowings of that conversation. I just think it was Daniel Jones from the time they signed him this past year.
There was some commenting going on the chat line here on the YouTube side of things, and a comment was made, and that let's see, I want to go back, and because I understand some of it, it probably just didn't come out wrong, but Rudy says, what did he say? He talked about the Colts with a female owner, but I didn't realize this. She stands on the sidelines with a clipboard. I think that's ridiculous. I don't care about being female, because someone else mentioned she's probably seen more NFL games than a lot of us. Mm-hmm. She's definitely seen more from the inside of an NFL franchise than any of us. He's definitely been involved. Jim Irsay started doing that. He knew where it was going. So you're getting a college education on running an NFL team. There are plenty of people that have bought pro sports teams that had zero sports experience. And so, but the standing on the sideline with a clipboard, get the hell out of here with that. Get your ass up into a booth and do that.
Well, I would imagine she's doing the clipboard to keep mental notes and, get a
can't do that from the booth.
Well, also get a pulse from the team on the sideline. That's my only opinion there. Her grandfather would actually stand on the sideline with a headset back in the day.
Well, yeah, and he was not exactly known as the most rational man in the world either.
Right, but so it comes honestly in that equation. And I would imagine Jim in his days when he could move around, he would do that as well.
Now, if this is a one-year thing, I get it. If this is just because she wants for this year because of where the Colts are, okay, you want to get a crash course. You know what? I really don't have a problem with that if that is what the reasoning is, which I'm assuming it is. Now, I don't think that this is something that has to go forward after this season, and it may not take all season. If it's just for a few games, okay, I'm like, all right. I'll respect that for wanting to get as much real life info as possible, because she's running the deal, and she knows and sees how important decision making is going to be in getting that franchise back to being successful, which they are currently not.
No, and it may also be the appearance idea of being seen as the quote unquote new sheriff in town. But I have no idea what her priorities are as it pertains to being on or off the field. And but at the end of the day, there's no question that Ballard is definitely on the hot seat for this year. And I just don't necessarily
wasn't he already though?
Well, he's been on the hot seat for 2 years, but I just think with Jim's health situations and things of that nature, he just didn't really care about making that decision, or didn't want to make that decision as he was going through his, challenges. Because I do believe there was some rumblings within the front office that they wanted to make that change, but they didn't. But I do think Steichen, I think he's a good coach. I think he's got a good offensive mindset. I think getting Lou, the new DC from, Cincinnati, I believe he was at last year, is a good defensive coordinator that will help and get a little bit more continuity in their scheme and try to be more complementary football. And I think that ultimately gives them the best shot to win. Now, does that, Anthony Richardson's got to keep competing because he's one snap away. It'll be interesting to get his attitude. Now, he said all the right things when they interviewed him yesterday, and he actually sounded very intelligent, and he made the correct answers when he gave answers. It wasn't sour grapes that came out of, was projected out of him. And I'm sure he's disappointed, but he didn't let that moment show that disappointment. He said the right thing. So, he acted a little bit more mature as a quarterback that's in front of the microphone and projecting positivity about the decision, even though he may totally disagree with it. But he's one snap away. And in the NFL, there's a high likelihood you're going to need 2 quarterbacks. And I think they've got,
especially the Colts.
At Colts. Yeah. Because they've had some problems with protections over the year. And then we saw his faux pas against the Ravens that led to a dislocated finger when he didn't make a protection check, and he got his head taken off. So I do think I just think that decision was made when they signed Daniel Jones. I mean, they said the right things outwardly about this is a competition and blah, blah, blah. I think the situation last year bothered Steichen to no end. And I just don't think he's necessarily moved past all that yet to put the keys back in the kids' hands.
Yeah. And that's that, and you can't blame Shane Steichen.
Oh no, I would be the same
way. In pro
way.
sports, you don't recruit the players. That's the GM's job, and you coach the team you're given. You just go back to Moneyball. What a great movie that was.
Yeah, right.
Remember when Billy Bean was insisting that I can't remember the manager's name. Art
Ross. Art.
Daggone it.
Is it Art Howe? Was it Art Howe?
It was, yes. Art Howe, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. He had that system that he wanted played, and boy, they butted heads, and that was probably an accurate. I don't know how accurate that was, but that's how accurate. That's how accurate it would be. I mean, I don't know how accurate it was to that situation.
Well, right.
Probably was.
Pretty close.
Because you've got Art Howe, old school guy. Mm-hmm. Well, now they're bringing in this all using the numbers. What he was numbers don't hit balls.
Yeah.
Numbers don't score. Yada yada. So, but you can't blame Shane Steichen. I don't. Now he made the decision, I'm assuming, but I wonder
was it his decision alone?
Well, I would think so. Because he's the one that I think they gave all the, ammo to make that decision. Now, there may have been a collective powwow that came to the same agreement that we want Anthony to sit for a year and learn and mature because we've thrown him into the spotlight and he just has not performed well enough to be a consistent quarterback in the NFL. And that's why they went and got Jones. Now, that could have all been, like I said, that could have been the plan from day one inwardly, but outwardly they were projecting something else. But yeah, I know there's quite a few fans out there that are not overly enthusiastic with the decision. And it kind of surprised me a little bit because I don't think he's done anything to warrant the outcry that he should be the guy anyway. But but I do think Shane had the full backing of ownership, and Ballard, I'm not even sure he had a say in the matter in that regard, because I think if they wanted AR, Irsay's, the daughters would have said, no, Shane, we're going with the guy we're paying buku bucks to be out there and playing. So do with what you got to do.
Now, I wonder, I'm going to say I don't think that they did. I doubt that the Irsays had any input on this decision, but I don't know that.
Well, Shane was going to they were going to have a meeting with him, Ballard, and the Irsays about this particular situation. He was going to have that up the chain powwow because and I think that was a smart call by him, because the worst thing you could do.
First of all, you take part of the onus off of yourself at the end of the season. You can say, hey, I talked to you guys and you were in agreement.
I think it was more of a common courtesy to the new ownership, even though it's an Irsay, that this is a big decision and he wants to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And if there is, some disagreement, let's talk and have it out, rather than going ahead and making a decision and only to turn around and have the Irsay clan come in and say, no, we want you to play, AR. And that's the final decision. So I think he did the right thing in that regard. And that happens all over the NFL with quarterbacks. I guarantee it. That's a more mutual conversation than we all think it is. But I'm not even sure, Shane may have gotten the opinions of the people in the room offensively. They may have gotten the opinions of, the O linemen and running backs and wide receivers on who they felt, but, is the guy. And, sometimes the coach will do that. He'll get a general feel as they trust the guy that's in the huddle. And sometimes they'll find out that they don't, even though they think the guy's pretty darn good. But it's a decision. He's made it. Move on. And I think that's the most important thing. Now he's got that behind him and they can move on with these final preparation games that they have and get themselves ready to play. And I think that's the most important thing.
Certainly is. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, Jim Coyle and the coach, Shannon Griffith, with us right now. We'll take a pause for the cause, and we'll come back and we'll talk some college football as we're getting there, baby. It's almost here. The countdowns are getting closer. They're in hours. I saw people put up hours for the kickoff of week 1. We're going to skip week 0. We'll talk about it, but when it happens. But we're week 1 is week 1, baby. We've got lots more coming up right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing, or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition, or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com.
Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Coach Griffith with us as well, talking some football. And before I forget, don't forget to get your subscription to thehoosier.com for complete coverage on all things Indiana for news, recruiting, and everything that is going on. But in addition to included in your subscription is a yearly subscription to The Athletic.
Yeah.
That's huge, man.
Huge.
That's huge.
And they got great Colts coverage.
They've got great everything. College basketball and football as well, takes it to a different level. So you combine those two things, man, that's incredible. Not only that, you can check it out for just $1 and then get it for 50, get the Hoosier.com for 50% off for your entire first year. And let me tell you, On3 is the place that is supplying the coverage, breaking stories, and is become the runaway leader in that
controversial stories.
Well, now that they've added a controversial writer, but that's why I promise you, and I'm going to reach out to get Brett on, but that's why they got him. They had writers, but not really. He's a guy that
likes to stir the pot.
Yeah, and I promise you, that story that's easy pickings.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like everybody's doing it. Well, let's just jump on Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand what you know what? All right, I'm going to pull up the Illinois football schedule. Not because I'm picking on them. I'm just curious.
Go ahead while you're pulling that up. I'll read you the future schedule of Penn State and Nittany Lions.
Oh, please.
This year they play Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. Next year they play Marshall, at Temple, Buffalo. 2027, Syracuse, Delaware, Temple. 2028.
Okay. Why they're the #1 team in the country? Holy hell.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that Penn State is wrong in that philosophical, but it's no different than the philosophical approach that Indiana's taken.
And that everybody takes. That's the thing.
Everybody takes.
State, maybe.
Well, look, it's like he said, you're going to play two group of fives and probably one AA type of opponent. And that's what Indiana does. And most of the country will do, with the few exceptions of, like Ohio State playing Texas this year and things of that nature. But for him to come out and make this assumption about, Indiana's the only school that does it, because that's what his assumption was. I mean, he picked on it and says, we adopt the SEC philosophy. Well, first of all, Brett Murphy doesn't have any clue on philosophy. He never has, and he never will. Like you said,
will you tell him that when we get him on?
I'll be glad to. I think he's been that way with when he was with Sports Illustrated. He would.
I don't want to piss him off too bad. He's with On3 now, and so we'd like to get him back on.
But the thing of it is,
I would rather just point out the things like that you just pointed out, which is what I've been talking about. Why is this being ignored? Why is this being ignored? Why is this being ignored? I don't care who Indiana plays in the non-conference.
Well, here's the other thing.
They play 9 damn Big Ten games.
Well, here's the beauty thing about college football. Indiana is still in the heads of everybody in the country, good, bad, or indifferent. And there's no such thing as bad media. Okay?
There you go,
so I'd rather be talked about, whether it be negatively, positively, or neutral, at all times of the year than not to be mentioned at any at all. And if you go back through the years, how many times Indiana was in the national media spotlight, they have been in the last 2 years. I don't think you could probably find too many of that in the last 5 to 7 years where Indiana's been, in that spotlight, positively or negatively. So I guess there are some things you got to look at and said it's best, when they're writing about you, you must be doing something right. If they're cheering you or they're, taking the pitchfork to you, it doesn't really matter. They're still talking about you. So
yeah, that's not a bad point. Yeah. Except for when it's a constant negative, negative. And I wonder, because I mentioned this earlier, the college football selection committee is supposedly going to take strength of schedule much more, having it be much more of an impact on the decisions this year. But, people like to look at who you don't play. Well, why not look at who you do play? You're playing 3 top 10 teams. I mean, if you can't, depends on, Illinois is 12th in the AP. So 3 top 12 teams. 2 of those on the road.
Right.
Which are virtually top 5 teams on the road. You also go to Iowa, who, while they're not ranked, you don't know. I mentioned this earlier. When you get to the 4th week of the schedule, let's see what Iowa's schedule is, because I'm curious on what they could be 4 weeks into. Well, all right, they play the University of Albany. They're going to open up with Albany. Is that an NAIA school?
FBS.
I'm kidding.
Or FCS, I should say.
Now, the one thing I've seen twice, I pulled up Illinois and now pulling up Iowa. One thing that has been a constant, both of those teams are playing a P4 opponent. And not only is Iowa playing a P4 opponent, they're playing Iowa State at Iowa State. So
that's a backyard brawl.
Yeah. And I don't know how good Iowa's going to be this year right now. We'll have to wait and see, because they've got the quarterback from South Dakota State. And if they upset Iowa State, they're going to beat UMass, which is the 3rd game on their schedule. And this is odd. It says that Iowa plays Rutgers on Friday, September 19th. And the schedule I look at, that's the Illinois. I'm sorry. They play Indiana on the 27th. So after their first 4 games, they're going to play Albany, a win, UMass, a win. They do travel to Rutgers, probably a win, but they could be 2-2 though. Not what you would love to see them be 4-0, because if they're 4-0, if they beat Iowa State, they're going to be ranked already. Then they'll go play UMass and kick them. And if they travel to Rutgers and get that win, they're going to be ranked. So that would give Indiana another opportunity to beat a ranked team. Now, I don't know how good Iowa State's going to be this year, and that'll be a big deal, because if they do get by that game, that'll be huge, and that'll be big for Indiana.
Yeah. Iowa State's always a quality school opponent, and Campbell's done a great job since he left Toledo, and really he's resurrected Iowa State. And to the most, for the most part, it's kind of what, Cignetti's done at Indiana. He went into Iowa State and had, pretty much success from the get-go. And, he was the quote unquote darling of college football, because they were a program that had limited success, and there was some tradition there in the previous years and such like that. But it's similar to what Indiana's doing now, where they've thrusted themselves into the national spotlight. And there are people that like that, and there are people that don't like that. And the thing that Indiana has to do is tune it out and keep winning. That's the biggest thing, is keep winning. And irregardless of what happens this year, they're still a better football team top to bottom than I believe they were a year ago. Now, does that translate into the wins that they need to get this year? We'll see. But I think that's the biggest thing. And like I said, there's no such thing as bad publicity when it comes to this stuff. And it will all be shutting up here in a week anyway, or after this week, because, everything kicks off on this weekend, in week 0 of the schedule. There's like 3 or 4 games. So, hey, we're in the season. It's time to rock and roll. And Indiana had their last scrimmage yesterday. We'll have an off day today. And then on Thursday, will be starting preparation for Old Dominion. So it'd be interesting to see how they came out of the scrimmage. And, I imagine that was a pretty much controlled scrimmage with different segments like they wanted to get in, whether it's field offense and third and mediums and shorts and, red zone and goal line situations. It was probably more scripted than anything. But
they'll go into next week just going into game prep, and we'll have all of that. Well, Coach, I cannot thank you enough as always.
I wanted to get my 2 cents in. I wanted to get my 2 cents in on Brett Murphy.
Oh, don't worry. We'll have plenty of opportunity. Well, you'll be back tomorrow with us as
absolutely
we're back on Thursday. And appreciate everybody for stopping by to visit. Go out and have yourself a great day. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.